And good morning. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. We're going to start with a little different format today. I'm going to start off introducing my guest because he has a time crunch. This is Brice Adams. He is from the Central Valley Taxpayers Association. And young guy, smart guy. It always encourages me to see somebody that is, well, what are you, in your early 20s? Mid-20s?
Late 20s.
Late 20s. Oh, you're ancient. Sorry.
1995 is not that ancient. It's the last year of the millennials.
Ah, okay.
Right?
So a millennial that actually has their head on straight just always blows me away. Because your generation has a pretty bad reputation for being all about socialism.
It does, and, well, bless their hearts, but no. Something about trying to get to utopia not working out.
Well, I have a list of all the countries that worked on my T-shirt that tried socialism. Mm-hmm. I don't think there are any countries on there.
No, and even if you try to tell the Nordic countries that, they will refute it.
Oh, yeah, they'll argue that we're not socialist. And they've moved very much towards capitalism in the last 15 or 20 years.
Mm-hmm. That they have.
So, how did you get started in all this?
Well, I don't want to be that guy, but I did move to Sacramento to finish my undergrad in 2018 from the Bay Area. And no, I'm not contributing to, like, higher property taxes and, higher housing prices or anything like that. But I did move there, and I want to finish my undergrad at Sac State and be more involved in politics. But the famous saying, seek and you shall find, kind of just happens. And I kept on finding myself in really, I guess, good opportunities to, be of help and be there for people and be a real positive impact on situations. And this is one of those things that I feel, we can have a good positive impact on, especially for people in the Valley.
Tell me a little bit about what the goals are of the Central Valley Taxpayers.
The goals of the Central Valley Taxpayers are to advocate for fiscal responsibility and bring awareness to issues in the Valley that are unique to the Valley. For example, water and other county measures in the individual counties. I'm currently working on bringing light to two Fresno tax measures, Measure C, which is a transportation tax, and Measure E, which is the big one for Fresno State. It also includes funds for a new football arena there, stadium.
I thought that was a pretty rich school. Why should the taxpayers pay for that?
That's beyond me. But otherwise, go Dogs.
I totally agree with that part. I just don't understand why we got to pay for it, and then we got to pay, a reasonable ticket price in addition. Shouldn't that fund what's going on?
It should, and in my humble opinion, a lot of that should also come from people who donate to the school. There is a healthy network of alumni from Fresno State that have gone on to do really great things. I mean, You would also think that they could write Derek Carr a letter and ask for a small donation.
Small is all relative, isn't it?
Yeah. Got to remember Carr is a very charitable man, and he is a man of God. So I'm sure if they just asked nicely, they would get something.
I'm certain. You mentioned water. You're the only taxpayer association that I'm aware of that even mentions water.
Yes. Well, it's unique to the Central Valley because if there is no water, people suffer. And if you don't have water, then the Central Valley does not have ag. And, you see these bumper stickers everywhere on cars. My job depends on ag. It's green and it's in big, bold letters. And you see it on the backs of trucks, you see it on the backs of pickups, you see it everywhere whenever you're driving up 5 and 99. And for California to be the real breadbasket of the nation that people call it.
Well, we literally are. They're just trying to change it. Whether intentionally or through incompetence.
Yes, and other federal subsidies for cash crops and not fruits and vegetables, which is what we're most known for, and nuts. Almonds, for example, almond trees, they take a lot of water, and they've actually turned into a big exporter for us now. And I believe and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Eric, it's about 20 to 25 gallons of water for almonds per almond.
It's something like that, but what I want to point out is you get tremendous value. They're repurposing water into food rather than wasting water, and we need to look at it that way. That is a food source that is highly cherished. For my environmental friends, it's one that isn't meat, so it is certainly less damaging to the environment than, say, feedlots. Not an issue for me, but I'm just throwing that out there. We got to pick our battles, and unless they figured out a way to only eat bugs and grass that grows in their backyard, we still got to transport it somewhere.
That's where diesel comes in. That's where gas comes in.
And diesel and gas is propelling those electric vehicles as well, because we're not ready.
No, we are not. And I know Devin Mathis is a big advocate for hydroelectric as well. Well,
hydro works pretty well.
It does.
It's pretty clean. It does have a footprint, but if we don't store water, because California is in a cycle of approximately 7 years, where 5 of those years will be a drought and 2 of them will be good. If we don't store water, we're sunk.
No, absolutely. And, the Sites Reservoir, that's always the big talking point. That's what I know James Gallagher in the Assembly's really been vocal about, though.
It's paid for, right?
Yes. So you'll always see that whenever the governor goes out to one of these reservoirs or somewhere else, he always brings in people from the Bay in LA that are on these committees in the legislature.
Well, he appoints them, so he only picks those people.
Yes, and the one group of people who are not there are the people who actually live there. It's the classic, we know what's good for you guys. You guys don't know. But we know what's good for us. We know what we need out in the valley.
Well, that is typical of a particular type of politician. I know you're a nonpartisan organization, so I'm going to talk about the fact that there's a large group of politicians that believe in top-down control, and then there's a smaller group of politicians in this state that believe in empowering the people and letting our Republican form of government make decisions.
And, I would agree with that, because it is in, the Constitution that power does come from the people. And in theory, it's not really acted out a lot nowadays, but in theory, our representatives listen to us because we voted for them.
Yes.
And when they go to Sacramento, Washington, or the county board meeting, they should have our opinions and thoughts in their minds and hearts when they are on the stand and discussing policy.
Well, if they were servants, that'd be true.
Very correct. Very correct. Some like to think they are servants. Some are just simply there for the clout and other reasons.
So you mentioned water. You also, I believe on your website, talked about gas. So I assume that's hand in hand with inflation.
Yes, it is.
What are you guys doing to hold people accountable? Because we're paying, 53.9% tax on every gallon of gas, plus sales tax, plus the additional 18 cents for federal.
Well, you see that other states have suspended their gas taxes. States like Connecticut, New York, states on
liberal
in
states.
The Northeast. Yes. Kathy Hochul, for whatever you say about her, she moved to suspend her gas tax there. And, she would be another fruit and nut out here. But, but, it's been over 180 days since the legislature last convened about gas tax rebates. We still don't know whether they're going to come in with our ballots next month. But we would like to still see the gas tax suspended. Personally, I'd preferably like to see it just permanently suspended.
I'd be okay with it if they would actually fix the roads and only use the money for what it is earmarked for.
Yes. And 99 would be a whole lot better if they did that.
Yeah.
But no. But my other question, I've been really thinking about this. It's kind of more open-ended. But since gas-powered vehicles will be banned from selling it by 2035.
Oh, that's right. His Majesty did that.
Yes. What will happen to the gas tax?
They will find a new scheme to get us in both ways, because I thoroughly do not believe that it's going to happen on that timeline, because we haven't fixed the battery issues.
No, we haven't.
Nor the capacity issues.
I think a charging tax would be in place. I don't know.
Well, then they wouldn't be cheaper, would they? They're already significantly more money. If the battery goes dead, you're sunk big time.
Mm-hmm. Like replacing 2 or 3 transmissions on your car.
Yeah.
Easily. And it forces a lot of lower end people on the pay scale off the road. So what do they do then?
Well, they can ride on that bullet train. I think you can get on the train. It just won't go anywhere.
It'll take the span of the bridge that they built in Fresno County.
Ooh. Yeah, I often refer to that as Fresno County's Stonehenge. And that future generations are going to be walking around at that going, what in the world were these people thinking?
That's funny.
So, aside from educating people, what else what actions are you guys taking? Are you connected to legislators or?
Yes, we are going to be putting out a online voter guide and promoting that closer to November. We're currently filling it out right now and adding candidates. That's federal, Congress, the state legislature, as well as city council members in the area and county board members too. I know there's a lot of more competitive races now in the valley. You have John Duarte and Adam Gray in the 13th congressional district. David Shepard's going against Melissa Hurtado, and that is looking like it's going to be a pickup for the Republicans there over the Democrats.
Let's hope.
As well as a few more assembly seats too.
Even 21, which is Michael Marr and the dreaded Jim Costa. That's a plus 16 Democrat district, and I think Marr has a shot. This is the time.
Potentially.
This is the time.
Especially since Democrat turnout is very low, and their enthusiasm gap is not as big as the Republicans. Republicans want to go out and vote. I don't really listen to what the mainstream media has to say about, Biden's poll numbers and the Democrats looking better shaping up to the midterms. I
think that's spin. Now,
it's a ruse, in my opinion.
Now, I know you got to go pretty quick, and I know you've got an event in Fresno, so let's plug that event.
Yes, so the event is called Uncle Sam's Birthday because the guy in the top hat and goatee from all those World War I ads actually does have a birthday, and that's September 13th. And that will be at 6:30 p.m. at Piccadilly Inn in Fresno, the Fresno location, by the airport. And one of our keynote speakers will be Scott Kaufman, the current legislative director of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association.
Cool.
And he'll be discussing a lot of the ballot initiatives that are going to be on the ballot and how they affect taxpayers this year. I know Props 26 and 27 are the big ones. Prop 1 is another big one, but since we are a taxpayer organization, well, 26 and 27 are the relevant ones to us. And those involve sports betting and all the taxpayer funds. And future ones that will go to.
What were your positions on those two?
So we're a no on 26. 27, it's looking like a no vote as well, but we are going to review that again.
Okay. Go ahead, because you're just about out of time. You said you need to be gone at 10:30. We're almost there. Can you give the website, and will you be at this event this coming?
I will be at this event, and it is centralvalleytaxpayers.com, and you could register for the event there. We also have the links on Facebook as well.
Well, I sure thank you for your time, and I hope you have a good day, and I wish I could be there. Folks, if you can't, you don't have anything going that Tuesday night, I recommend you go.
Yes.
Well, Brice,
I would recommend it as well.
I thank you for your time.
Seeing everyone there. Thanks, Eric.
I thank you.
Bye.
We're going to go ahead and take a break. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. Wanted to say thank you to everybody that's watching on social media. A couple weeks ago, I had a show with Mark Reed, and I had a record. That was kind of a big deal. We're running right around 4,000 views. So whether you like me or you like Mark, I'm hoping that you like me too. Mark is a good candidate, and I hope he's elected to Madera County Supervisor, District 5. Nonetheless, appreciate all those people watching on social media. Let's go ahead and come back. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. Well, good morning and welcome. I'm going to get back to, because we started this show a little different, my calendar of events. Okay, so September 13th, that's a Tuesday night, the Fresno County Republican Central Committee meeting. They're going to have a candidate forum, so it'll give you a chance to see some of the candidates. That's at 6 p.m. If you were to go to their website, the FCRP website, and register, hope to see you there. September 20th, Let Freedom Ring. This is put on by my guest from last week, Deborah Rush of Breaking the Chains. This is really to show appreciation for law enforcement, for all the hard work and all the risk and all the ridiculous hours that they work. It's a way to say thank you. It's also a way to support Breaking the Chains, which is about human trafficking. So that is September 20th. That is I believe, a Tuesday at 5 p.m. at the Clovis Rodeo Grounds. A lot of the local politicians will be there, so it'd be an opportunity to get to know them. You know, you don't have a voice with your local politicians unless they know you. If you're the person that just calls them when you're pissed, they're like, oh, man, I got to listen to these complaints again. And if they're truly a servant, they will listen. But wouldn't it be better if they knew you? If you went out and you got to meet them. In addition to those politicians, you can go out and there will be all kinds of law enforcement, and they deserve your thank you. So hopefully I'll see you there. I'll be at that one. October 1st. This is a Saturday. We're having the Great American Revival. This is from 11 to 4 at Bicentennial Park in Clovis. I'll be speaking at that one. I'll be attending. I'll have a table. If you want to come see the bald guy, I'll be there. Probably with a hat on, though, so I'll be in camouflage. Should be a good event. There's supposed to be a band. There'll be great speakers. There'll be an opportunity, particularly for kids, to learn about the Constitution. There'll be tables and kind of activities for the kids to learn about the amendments and various things in the Constitution. Should be a fun time. Hope to see you there. My final event is the Dalla Monthly. That is a local Kingsburg paper. A lot of friends are writers. A friend is the editor. It's a good paper. And it doesn't give you all the spin. Does have somewhat of a conservative bent, but they try to be fair. How many newspapers are like that still exist? Also, it's just a fun event. There'll be a casino, live music, a raffle, and a nice dinner. That is October 15th, Saturday from 5 to 9 p.m. at the Kingsburg Historic Park. If those previous two events, I should have some tickets on me. Otherwise, you can go to thedollarmonthly.com and order tickets. Fun evening. Anyway, hope I see you at one of those events. I think getting involved and seeing like-minded people matters. As I mentioned, the gas tax is kind of scary. And it, in California, is one of the reasons why everything's more expensive. Part of it is people pay more for property because we have some of the best weather, though here in the Central Valley, we're not in that best weather period. It's been a struggle. But we're paying almost 54 cents for every gallon to go to our government, and that money is supposed to go to fix the roads. Now, I drive all over California. How many places have good roads? I can't really think of much of anywhere unless it's a private road or they've just fixed it, which does happen. But our major freeways, 99 being one of the key ones, is frankly awful. You don't try to dodge the potholes anymore. You just try to dodge the big potholes. That's how bad it is. And this gas tax is supposed to have been paying for it. But that money seems to go over to the general fund, and we always seem to have more money to give to the needy. Now, if it was a hand up, that's one thing. It seems to be a handout with the current party that's in charge. And that really bothers me. Do I want to give people a hand up? To give them a bridge that allows them to reach something better? Yeah. To teach them to fish rather than provide for them for their lives? Because when you just provide for them and there's no expectations, they don't have to do anything, where do they derive their sense of self-worth? They don't have as happy and fulfilled a life. I think by having expectations and expecting a lot of people, people can generally do better than they think they can. This is still the land of opportunity, even though King Newsom is doing his best to turn us into a more progressive socialist kind of country. I said country because we're large enough to be a country by ourselves. We'd be the 5th largest economy in the world if we were a country. But at the same time, because of those policies, people are fleeing. And the people that are fleeing are the people that can afford to flee. The people that are tax-paying citizens. That's a scary thought. I have multiple friends that have said, I'm not putting up with this anymore. And they've moved to some other state. And it's not just friends and people. Major corporations. Elon Musk has largely moved all operations out of California. Here we are, the land of opportunity with all of these resources, and we seem to have politicians that just want to drive away anybody that's productive. That's kind of crazy. Getting back to water, again, they seem to want to drive agriculture almost out of business. Like, oh yeah, we got to eat, right? Remember Michelle Obama's big initiative that we need to eat more fruits and vegetables? Well, I agree. This is the breadbasket of the world. Why would you take the most productive farmland in the world out of service? Why would you even consider it? Not only is it good for us economically, we're turning water into food. I get that there are some problems, but there are solutions to these problems. We have 2 reservoirs that are essentially paid for, that construction has never been started on. Now think about that for a minute. Never been started, but we've had the money for years, in one case for about 20 years. We've passed bonds to pay for these. If we had more storage, everything would change. Now the environmentalists are going to go, well, that would be bad for the Delta. Guess what? I have a solution for fixing a large portion of that problem. You realize a large part of why they flush so much water through the Delta is because there are a few cities that have partially treated sewage. Notice I said partially treated sewage that they dump into the Delta. Because it's only partially treated, we have to run a lot more water through the Delta so that the things that are bad get diluted enough that it doesn't ruin the environment in the Delta. Well, what if they had actual full water treatment plants that then took that gray water and used it to water lawns? Couldn't drink it, but you could water lawns. You could put it back in the fields for agriculture. So there are some solutions, and we need to look at those solutions. We keep doing the same thing over and over in this state. And what results are we getting? Isn't it time to change something? How much risk are you taking? And this I'm appealing to the more moderates and the liberals. What risk are you taking if you try something different? I believe that California has largely developed a culture of failure, and it's intentional. I don't understand why. I don't know if it's that the people in power are incompetent and so insulated from the idea that they're servants of the people that they just go, well, I believe this. And basically to HE double hockey sticks the people. This is what I want, so we're going to pass this law because we have the power to do it. It's like they're power hungry. It's like Sacramento has its own royalty. We need to change that. We have some opportunities. This is an election coming up in November. What do you got to lose? Choose wisely, folks. Moving on, there's some other things that I wanted to address. Yesterday, we had an event on Resdenamir. Now, that is the protocol given from King Fauci through the CDC that hospitals really could only treat COVID patients with Resdenamir. Now, there's some real problems with Resdenamir. It shuts down your organs. It suppresses lung function. It shuts down your liver. Those are the main problems. And if you have COVID, and that's the only thing they can do, and it's suppressing your lung function, and COVID already suppresses your lung function, and it damages your kidneys, where does that leave things? Didn't seem like a good idea. And if you want to look up Resdenamir, I encourage you, please. There's a lot of information. So this lawsuit is about the fact that it didn't work, that they did not allow other protocols. And this was from the top. This was, if you want your CARES Act money, you hospitals, boy, you better fall in line, because even though you went to medical school and you were trained, and you're supposed to realize that each individual patient is different and not everything works exactly the same for everybody. The people in Washington and King Fauci, with the backing of our president, decided that no, there's one solution. This is what you must do. This is how you must approach it. Now, I see that as kind of anti-American. Our forefathers set up this system that allowed for freedom and experimentation within each state. And within each state, each municipality, so each city. And that freedom was absolutely crushed during COVID. We were told from the top, like a dictatorship, or like socialism, where they've had all that success. They were told from the top what you must do. So this lawsuit was about holding people accountable because you forced something on us, didn't give us informed consent about the potential problems of Resdenamir. And so they're suing something like 5 or 6 hospitals. And I hope that this becomes a beacon that, we can't do this. Going on in medical freedom, it really concerns me that our legislature passed a bill that said doctors must follow the line. Now, how many times has the line shifted if we're supposed to follow the science during COVID? But they're supposed to follow the line, and if they do something different, use their experience, kind of the American way and be innovative and try something, they could lose their medical license. If they were to speak out against the government, they could lose their medical license. That happened in California. That's not semi-fascism, as King Brandon talked about. That's fascism coming straight from Mussolini. And it really saddens me to have to refer to the governor of this phenomenal state full of opportunity as a fascist. But where's he come from? He didn't listen to the people. He says, oh yeah, the science. And then when the science shifts, he never acknowledges that he was wrong. Just, well, you needed to obey because I said it was the science. Well, why are we a people that obeys when it's nonsense on a lot of it? I'm proud to say that my local community took a little different tact on COVID, and we didn't impose the same level of tyranny that the sister city that I'm currently sitting in imposed. That we were closed for about a month and a half, and then the city of Clovis said, hey, it's not egregious, go back to work. Now, what a crazy thought. You have the freedom to go back to work. So remember, how did your politicians stand? Where were they at with all these mandates? Did they decide that they had the right to tell you what to do? Were they spineless cowards and didn't say anything? Did they lead the way? Did they just fall back and go, oh, well, CDC said, and my local medical boards said, I better just cave. And then when the narrative changed, they went, I still need to cave because I wouldn't want to make a strong decision. So just remember that. How do they act? They need to be held accountable. Maybe you're the person that just loved the fact that they obeyed. I'm betting you're still wearing a mask, if you're that person. Moving on from there. I see a lot of issues with crime and safety. My own mom lives in a neighborhood that she's a little worried all the time because cops are there. Not because of the cops, but because there are people that are up to no good. And we've set up a system, again, coming back to that idea of no accountability here in this state. If you can steal basically up to $1,000 as many times a day as you're industrious enough to pull off, and it's only a misdemeanor, because they're not cumulative. And judges don't have discretion. Our legislature, in its great wisdom, decided that's how we should go. Well, from my perspective, if that's where they were at, what needs to go is the politicians. I heard a quote that really impressed me. They said, and this is from Kennedy out of, Louisiana senator? He said, we can't fix the swamp until we get the pigs out of the water or out of the creek. And I think that's right. And I think that what California needs is barbecue. And pork should be on the menu because a whole lot of them need to go. So if nobody's held accountable, and criminals aren't dumb, they know, okay, I can sleep on the street, I can do drugs, in many places, right in front of the cops, say in San Francisco, they can shoot up right there, cops won't do a thing. They can defecate, which is a public health issue, all over, and really there's almost no consequences. because our governor, in his great wisdom, declared all state lands, meaning that's why you see them line the freeways, places where they can camp out. It coddled and enabled homelessness. Shouldn't we be doing things to help those that are crazy? Because some of them are frankly crazy, and I know that's not the politically correct term. A lot of them, a huge percentage, are addicted to drugs in addition to being crazy. And we're just ignoring the problem. I went through a small town the other day. Small town, population of less than 500. And I saw 3 different homeless encampments there. So there's no place to hide. We have to fix this. We can't hide from it. We got to fix it. This really bothers me. And one of the biggest solutions is to vote. And I get that a lot of people are convinced, they're apathetic, that their vote doesn't make a difference. I would say that people like Devin Nunes, who the left hated and who is the #1 targeted district for years to get rid of him here in the Central Valley, if the cheating was absolute, and I absolutely believe that there is huge vulnerabilities, and I believe that there is cheating, but somebody like that couldn't have been elected. So if we were to turn out in overwhelming numbers, and by the way, overwhelming numbers would be 50%, half people register to vote, the other half don't bother. And on a small election, it might be as little as 15% of those people that are registered actually vote. In a bigger election, it's closer to 25%. In the election we just had, the June primary, we were typically about 25% of the people voted. That's pitiful. That roughly translates to 13% of the people bothered to vote. There's a whole bunch of people that believe in American values that if they got off their butts, we could shift this. We could fix this state. But we can't live in a place of apathy. We're going to go ahead and take a break. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. So again, thank you to the people on social media. I appreciate anybody that's willing to make it all the way through and listen to a message that I believe is about preserving American freedom. I'm all about educating people and moving them to action. If you're a regular on my show, thank you. If you're a new person, thank you. I hope that you can embrace these ideals and that it gets you out to an event. There's a reason why I always go over events. It's because I want you to be inspired by like-minded people that aren't sitting on their butt, but instead are moving to action. Let's go ahead and come back. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. Love that song, folks. That is the Marine Corps fight song. My first guest was a Marine, and I liked the song so much that I kept it kind of as a sign of respect. I believe they're the greatest fighting force on the earth, and that they're about preserving American freedom, and because of that, I've kept the song. I like a variety of songs, and have thought about changing, and change isn't always necessary. Sometimes it's necessary, and it always happens, but that doesn't mean all change is good. And the change I'm seeing in my country, where we're supposed to embrace all these ideas that I don't believe are American at their core. Critical race theory, the idea that you're supposed to understand who a person is because of the color of their skin. that then because of the color of their skin, people are automatically put into one of two categories. You're either a victim or an oppressor, because they're telling me that this is a institutionally racist country and that everything should be seen through the lens of race. Well, I have a variety of races in my family, and I see people. I think that's important. I see people. I believe in Martin Luther King's dream, and the whole critical race theory thing is absolutely the polar opposite. It also always pushes for equity. And that sounds nice. And it's a way of the left going, oh, well, we just want everything to be fair. Well, life isn't fair. And I want equality of opportunity. Meaning, no matter what a person's race is, no matter what, if they're the best at a particular thing, I want them to thrive. And if you're not as good at something, I'm sorry, but those of you that have, actually, most of the people listening, I'm sure you have more than one kid. If you don't, maybe you have more than one niece and nephew. Do they have the same gifts? Well, if we imposed true equity, nobody'd get to shine. Doesn't mean that one person's better in the eyes of the law. They should have equal opportunity. But it means that one kid will be very verbal, for instance, and would express their gifts in that way. Another kid might be really good at math. Or actually might be the opposite personality, is a great listener. They can develop that into something else. Some people are naturally drawn to tech. They're all different gifts. If we got true socialism, where everybody's equal, then you wouldn't have that opportunity. You wouldn't be able to use your creativity because it'd be stomped on. And so that really bothers me. I see that as anti-American. I want the best ideas. I want a vigorous debate. That means that occasionally I'm going to be wrong. Not very often, though, but occasionally wrong. And I want to be able to explore ideas. And if automatically, because of the color of my skin, an immutable characteristic, I have to go in a category. And if somebody else has a different skin color, they go in a different category. Then, Now, if we're truly institutionally racist, why is it that there are several Asian groups, Pakistanis, Japanese, Indian Americans, not American Indians, Indian Americans, there are others that have a higher average family income than whites? I would guess it's because they used education and hard work. And then they had a close-knit family that gave them a support system. Now, it's not just a guess, because I know quite a few people that are in those categories, and I appreciate that. Hey, if they're the best doctor, the best lawyer, the best convenience store owner, they should succeed. So that's the world I want, and it really bothers me. You know, I spend a lot of time going to school board meetings. That's one of my major points. And I go to Fresno Unified more than Clovis now because I'm less concerned about Clovis. I have family in Clovis. I live in Clovis. I am actually on the border, and because of the way school district and city districts are, I'm also in Fresno. So I speak there regularly. And I have addressed that board 25 times. And each time, I always try to get them to be accountable, to acknowledge the fact that the school district is a dumpster fire. By the way, I first heard that term, dumpster fire, used about Fresno Unified from a school board member that's not on that board, from an entirely different district. So if it's really that bad and they're graduating kids that are not prepared to deal with the world, meaning you have an elementary school, grade school level, then how are you going to succeed? Well, the thing I always hear at Fresno Unified is, well, people of color, equity. Well, we have to be fair. From my perspective, any kid that's struggling should get more help. Period. Set up a program. Any kid that's struggling, I don't care what color they are, they should get more help. Try to bring them up. And instead, Fresno Unified just recently did a seminar and they talked about equity grading. So that would mean that you would get a point towards your grade if you were a person of color, if you were LGBTQ, if you were in a single parent home. Well, what a nice thought. So because they have those 3 strikes against them, they'd get more bonuses on their grades. Did that teach them anything? Nope, not a thing. And that's where the heads are at for the people in Fresno Unified. So I truly believe that aside from Major Sladek, the rest of Fresno Unified's board needs to go. More specifically with Major Sladek. I've met Susan Winthrop. I consider her to be the largest challenge to him in that race. She's supposedly a Republican, but she was a school psychologist, which are typically the most liberal of the liberal. She did not acknowledge the problems in the school district when I talked to her. I almost always go to the Fresno Unified School District meetings, board meetings, and I've never seen Susan Winthrop there. So when I see all these politicians that lined up to endorse Susan, who was a nobody, who they didn't know, I wonder why. And I realized it's because of her boyfriend, Darius Assemi, and how he politically contributes to all of these politicians. And he told them that he wanted her endorsed. So when you look at the fact that Margaret Mims endorsed her, and I like Margaret, but I think Margaret blew it on this one. When you look at Steve Brando, shame on you, Steve, for endorsing this woman. Because she talks about getting along with a board that only cares about being woke, not about educating kids. So how do you get along with a board that only wants to be woke? Enough about schools. I do believe that America is this unique place. And while we're only one generation away from losing our freedoms, I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged by the guest I had earlier today. You know, he's late 20s. He's right at the edge of the millennials. And he's about preserving American freedom. When I go out to all of these different meetings, and I go to quite a lot of meetings for generally conservative, but definitely constitutionalist and freedom-based groups, I see all these new people that were not even involved in the fight 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Now it's getting close to 3 for me. I wasn't on the radio. I wasn't in a group. Now I lead a group and I'm on the radio. And I'm one of many. These points of light truly make me hopeful and make me believe that California can be changed. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy. That doesn't mean it's going to be fun. There'll be work. But if we got out and voted, if you can inspire your neighbors to vote, go talk to them. Volunteer to take their ballot for them. It's mailed to everybody. So you'll take it down for them. If you believe that they will vote in a way that is helpful. Actually, I would even be okay with if they were somebody that truly cared about this country, while I would talk to them and have recommendations on how to vote, even if they didn't vote. Or excuse me, even if they didn't vote my way, I would still want them to participate in the system. The fact that we don't trust the system, it's a little scary. And so we need to get out, and the only way to make that change is to vote. And I'm pretty sure that this country deserves it. This has been truly an eye-opening journey, and I would not take back a minute of finding my place. For me, this is kind of like a calling, and so I spend my time here on the radio trying to call other people to action and educate them. Don't waste your opportunities. Life is short. If you truly value freedom, if you believe in liberty, if you believe in traditional American values and you want a world where we are a beacon, then get out, be active. I thank you. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550, the best talk in town.